Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Rogue Wave podcast, the frequency for all things pop culture and the disruptors behind it. We stream live every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on youtube.com/Rogue Matter and facebook.com/We Are Rogue Matter. We talk about all the good stuff that you want to hear, and tonight we are jam-packed with talking heads. Well, we've just got one extra talking head, essentially. I am your host, Michael Dolce, joined, as always, by my cohort in crime, the lord of the radio himself, Mr. Hassan Godwin. How you doing, sir?
Hey.
And a special guest tonight, coming in off the bench, very Jordan-like with the flu, so he decided to Zoom. Mr. Darren Sanchez, how you doing, sir?
I can't be as enthusiastic as Hassan, but I'm ready.
No one ever can. No one ever is.
People rarely can, man. It's a unique trait that I have. It's a skill, so don't worry about it.
People can only dream too. So we got a lot to talk about tonight. We've got our March movie madness bracket. We're gonna do it all in one shot. We got 17 matchups. There's an obligatory play-in game that we have to go through as well too. For the best movie endings ever, we've also got we'll talk a little tiny bit of Moon Knight as well. But first, the big story was the Oscars, and obviously the biggest story of that was that Dune took all the prizes.
Dune destroyed, man.
It was
destroyed.
It was easily the best. Darren wasn't prepared for this. Actually, he's like, "What do you mean? Aren't you going to talk about? Aren't you going to talk about the other big story?"
No, I don't. What other big story? I don't know. Is there another big story?
No, yeah. That's our general reaction to on this end. We were just kind of like by Wednesday that I feel bad because it's like two really nice actors that I really like, and comedian and Chris Rock I think is probably my all-time favorite comedian. No joke. I think his stand-up in the '90s was probably some of my favorites. So. We at Rogue Wave, we just wish them well. That's it. We just wish them well. I don't think there's anything really else to say about it at this point, unless Hassan wants to. But
nothing pertinent.
No, but Dune
there's plenty
actually.
to say, but nothing. No, yeah, as Darren said, there's a ton of stuff to say, but none of it's.
Well, I can say that the Academy is having an emergency meeting, according to TMZ, which my wife was watching when I walked out.
Very important.
They're having an emergency meeting to make some kind of decision because they're not quite happy with the on the spot decision they made to just let him stay.
I read about that. Yeah, that he was asked to leave and he said no. That kind of thing.
I don't know if they're going to do any kind of punishment or what, but they're meeting about it, and maybe there'll be some news about it later. But right now, no new news.
No matter what they do, it's going to be like if they take his Academy Award from him, there'll be a backlash. If they let him keep it, it'll be a backlash. If they just if they sell fight tickets for next Academy Awards, it'll be a backlash. I mean, no matter what they do, it's going to be.
I think they just have to not worry about the backlash and just do what they think is the right thing. And then if someone has a backlash, that's their fucking problem. So.
That they'd be the first corporation to actually do that, though, Darren. I totally agree with you. But they'd be the first to actually not care about the backlash. I wish streaming companies wouldn't care about the backlash, so I could get all my shows at once, like I was promised.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Segue. That was me. That was my really bad segue back into.
That's okay. That's okay. So
Dune,
my
whiny.
Congratulations to Dune. I think they won 7 or 8 Academy Awards. I actually looked through that. I was like, it's like winner Dune, winner Dune, winner Dune. I was like, very
I think
cool.
It's great. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not gonna ruin this with saying something negative. So I think it's great. Good for them. Good for Dune.
No, please, by all means, be negative. I don't what do I care?
I didn't like that soundtrack. I couldn't believe that soundtrack won.
For music and Dune.
You know what I wonder? Yeah. I wonder, and I think this has been actually said before, where I just don't think people actually watch all the movies or even know what they're voting on. Like, I think there's maybe a few people that know what sound editing actually is.
Dude, we had on this very show, we had a sort of, as close as we come to investigative journalism, we had a sort of behind the scenes of the Academy Awards when we found out that they don't even really vote on the movies that they have. it's more like a lobbying campaign, and whoever lobbies the best actually gets their people nominated, and then it's something really stupid, like they put a name in a can and kick it, and I'm only sort of being facetious, but it's a really drawn out process that has nothing to do with a bunch of people sitting in a room and voting on which movie they loved or you know which production value was best.
Yeah,
it really has nothing to do with that, and that's a shame. It really is.
I think it's best in timing that this kind of movie win this year. You know, that kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Who was that was on our show? I forget that. He was good.
I don't remember. It was years ago. It was like maybe 5 years ago. It was
Okay.
like a
face
solid.
was probably blurred out and you know, talking through a voice modulator. And
Yes. Yes. We had an insider.
Well, I mean, I hope so, right?
Next time I come on, that's what I want.
You want an exclusive insider? Is that what we want? Or
Now he wants his face blurred out with a voice modulator.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, that's, that makes sense.
We can do that for you right now, though, Darren.
Is that like the Ben Affleck from Batman v Superman?
Maybe.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm telling you.
where he's all depressed Fleck.
No, when he's in the bat suit, so like, so no one will actually know who he is.
Well, anything better than the Kristen Bale. Don't do the Kristen Bale to Darren.
I agree.
He deserve that.
No, I agree. I spent all this time getting this Oscars wrap-up graphic back on the screen that now we're going to move on to Moon Knight. So it's just good timing for everything. Moon Knight, we're not going to talk too much Moon Knight.
Darren hasn't seen it, so he.
Well, it's also, look, it's the day of. I got to tell you, the Wednesday, dropping stuff on Wednesday, I despise, actually. I would prefer a Friday night. Like, I thought, Peacemaker was kind of cool. It was a Thursday night. So not only did it, kind of work out with, with just the timing for us in terms of, like, it's not the night we do a podcast, which I guess, in theory, we should be grateful that they're dropping it the same day. But I know so many people that are like, well, I can't watch you because I haven't seen it yet. Because they have things like jobs, to where they can't actually watch it, first thing. But I know there's also a race to get like on the internet with like the most, like the quickest review you can,
Just a non-spoiler review. That's what you got to do.
Well, all right. So
yeah, there's always like a frenzy to get but I mean, look, but you saw it. You did see Moon Knight,
I saw
right?
it. Yes,
you did see it. So I mean, look, it's good. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next week. And the hot take is I think weekly release sucks. That's my hot take.
Let me ask
That's the worst thing I could say about it.
As the guy who didn't see it, how important is it that you know anything at all about Moon Knight?
Nothing.
Doesn't seem that important at all.
Nothing.
So it doesn't start off with a ton of baggage, and it starts off like an origin story almost, where you just kind of learn stuff with everybody else, right?
It's honestly arguable that they actually tell you way too little. You could argue that. It doesn't. It depends on your point of view, but there's like, the main character not knowing what's going on is pretty much the driving narrative of the first episode. So I guess, it works that the audience is going to find out as he does.
Well, Matt Damon made like 5 movies with that same plot.
Yeah. No, he's not joking though. I mean, he really is.
He knew how to smack the crap out of people. So I mean, nobody got tired of it because every time someone didn't have an answer for him, he beat the crap out of them.
They were all good movies. They're well done.
Yeah.
So
Cameron Christopher Payne chimed in that Moon Knight is smashing. So
nice.
Got to say that it was probably.
I guess he's a fan.
It hit every note with me, is what he just wrote. So I like. That's what I like about the live broadcast.
Is it? Would you clarify or classify it as a superhero genre, or is it more horror, or what?
It's not horror. It's kind of like
it
a
has
mystery
elements,
thriller.
Though.
It does. No, it does. You're right. It has elements of horror, but I wouldn't classify it as like a horror.
Is it like The Mummy, or more like Daredevil? I mean, as far as the feel.
Oh wow! It's closer to Mummy, than Daredevil.
Yeah.
So far, but that's episode 1. I'm sure as episodes go on, the comparisons could be much closer to Daredevil.
Yeah,
I mean, the setup is pretty. I mean, the dynamic seems pretty obvious. I'm not gonna assume because I don't know. But the secret identity kind of situation seems like that's how it wants to play itself out.
Yeah, no, it's like I said, I enjoyed it. There was one scene in particular, and this is as spoiler free as I can say, that was too similar to another franchise in the MCU adjacent library, to where I really was thrown off. As I was almost like, what, they're going to do the exact, like it was almost like the exact same gag, almost, and then it changes by the end of it. Folks that saw the episode will know exactly. Well, I hope will know exactly what I'm talking about. In terms of dealing with his personalities and whatnot. So it was. That was the only thing that threw me off. The rest was kind of was very interesting. It's almost like a Marvel's version of Fight Club, in a way. So
pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even more so when you actually watch it, you're gonna know exactly
visceral.
what I mean by that one.
Yeah.
Cool. Fight Club, great movie.
Yeah.
You need to watch it, Darren. That's basically what we're saying. You need to.
Yeah.
Fight Club.
You need to dive in. All right. Last week, and this is why you're here, Darren, because we need you here. Last week we did
Fix the list.
we did our annual bracket.
Right.
Came up with the best movie endings. Okay, so this is our best movie ending bracket. I'm putting it up on screen. We picked, out of all the movies we could think of, we had a couple rules, right, Hassan? We had a couple rules that we have had to have seen or interacted with said movie. And by interacted, it's like I didn't see Citizen Kane all the way, but I know how it ends. So we added that in there. But there was a couple movies, like I found a bunch of lists that had like the best endings of all time, and there was a couple films I'm like, I have no idea what it's like, from 1946 or something, and I'm like, I wasn't even half born then. So
I mean, there's movies like It's a Wonderful Life, or Wizard of Oz, It Was All a Dream.
Yeah.
There's movies like that that have endings that are classic, but I don't know if you can classify them as great. So.
yeah.
So yeah, I agree. There
So-
should be some sort of categorizing or rule.
Yeah. So we didn't want to restrict it, but we did give ourselves the parameter of we need to at least know what we're talking about here in terms of endings, and it's got to be some sort of relevancy. So we broke it down and we got these 16/17 matchups, and I'm going to take the bracket down when I get to the very end because it's actually a play-in matchup. But we've got Body Snatchers, Invasion of the Body Snatchers with Donald Sutherland, the ending. Sixth Sense, 2001: A Space Odyssey, Infinity War. We added Infinity War in there. I thought that was a stunning ending. I would sit there and say The Blip was pretty stunning. Back to the Future, Psycho, The Thing, Usual Suspects, Shawshank Redemption, Planet of the Apes, Scream, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Silence of the Lambs, 7, and then here is the this is the play-in matchup that we're going to see before we get to Inception. Inception is in Karate Kid or Jaws. Now, Hassan was a Jaws guy. I was a Karate Kid guy. So right off the bat, we said we need somebody else on this so we can figure out who is making it in this. This is our play-in round. Which ending was better? Not which movie was better. Again, not which movie was better.
I get it. For me, this is an easy call for two reasons. One, Karate Kid is not really the origin of that ending. It's basically a remake of Rocky. So Rocky should be in place of Karate Kid. With the Adrian, that kind of thing. That was the ending that these guys who wrote Karate Kid had in mind. They were doing Rocky with karate. Okay, so that great ending, Karate Kid. I love the movie. I love the franchise, even the Netflix shows. Jaws, great ending. I mean, sure, every horror movie, especially when you're fighting a monster, or it could be a Bigfoot or whatever, you're just getting to the scene where how are they going to kill the shark, or how are they going to kill this thing, or how are they going to get away, or whatever. And I suppose it could have ended where they didn't. The friggin' boat sank, and then all you see is a fin swimming away. But they went with the big explosive Hollywood ending, and I think it's old enough to where it wasn't cliche at the time, and it's cliche now because of Jaws. When you see a monster, you think, how are they going to kill it? What are they going to do? It's because of that, that big thing, that people are trying to outdo. So I would say Jaws for those two reasons.
All right, so you are going to make me redo my bracket because I had Karate Kid advancing.
Yeah, I thought so.
And I thought Karate Kid was just way better. It was way better. It's okay. It's all right. I will amend said bracket, and we will get this.
But it was derived.
We will get this exactly where we need to go. All right. So let's get into matchups. Then we will advance Jaws, much to my dismay. But that's this is why they play the games, right? Let's put the first one on the board here. We're gonna pick one of the middle rounds to go through. This one's an interesting one. Now, Hassan, I literally did not necessarily do this with any thought. I did just kind of randomly kind of pit some of these folks together, but I gave a little extra leverage to Usual Suspects. I gave a little extra leverage to...
Yeah, you're going to have to help me because I have no idea what these two images are.
This is Silence of the Lambs.
Okay. All right. Because I'm like, who's on the phone? What are we
versus
doing?
7.
Who's okay? All right.
So 7 is not a 1 seed. I'm going to show the bracket on one more time, even though it's incorrect because it has Karate Kid there. I gave Inception as 1. I gave Sixth Sense as 1. I gave Usual Suspects as 1, and I gave Planet of the Apes as the other 1 seed. The rest are kind of middle seeds. I thought they would be interesting to kind of pit against each other. Like Psycho could have been a 1 seed. 7 could have been a 1 seed, but this is ultimately how I kind of paired them up, and that's what we're going to go with. So we're going to go with Silence of the Lamb, the ending to Silence of the Lamb, or the ending of 7. Hassan, which of these two is moving on in the bracket?
Psychologically, Silence of the Lamb has the better ending, but theatrically, dramatically, definitely 7's got a better ending than if we're just going by endings. And
just by endings, yes.
I don't know, like by what criteria? Like, is it the best shocking ending or the best, the
most memorable.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to put it. The one you walked away with being like, wow, that one.
I will have to say just because of how visceral it is, I would have to say 7 has probably a more memorable ending than Silence of the Lambs, although that last phone call in Silence of the Lambs is a classic. But I'd have to pick 7 just to,
just because.
Just be expedient, like for the sake of memory alone, I'd pick 7.
Okay. All right. Darren?
Yeah, I agree. The fact that I had to sit here and think for a second about how Silence of the Lambs ended, to me, says that 7 was more memorable. It was a cool, mind game, that Silence of the Lambs did. It was just a very smart movie and just really good the whole way through. But to me, 7, the ending is much more, like you said, visceral, more memorable, because it was different than things you've seen before. It wasn't trying to be clever. It was just in your face and, brutal. So, yeah.
All right, so 7 will advance in our. It won't even. I don't even think it doesn't even need to be debated. To be honest with you, I'm a huge fan of the 7 ending. Like I said, I think it could have been a 1 seed. Maybe it should have been a 1 seed. I don't know. Maybe Inception is
Now, here's
not.
the question though: was it the ending, or did it happen like with 15 minutes to go?
It was basically the ending. It was like 5 minutes to go, if I recall correctly.
Okay.
Which one?
7.
It's the ending.
Should we elaborate on what the ending was for the viewers or readers or whatever?
No, we got too many to go through. We'll do it at the end.
Okay. All right.
We'll do it when we get to the final 4. All right.
If they were smart, they'd know.
Look at that. I fixed the bracket. There's Jaws. It's in there. 7 is moving on. It has advanced to the next round. All right. I don't know why I have to keep stuttering as I do it, because I don't normally stutter, but for some reason I decided to stutter tonight. All right. Next up on the list is going to be 2001: A Space Odyssey versus Infinity War. All right, who wants to go first on this one?
Oh man, that's mean. That's a mean thing. Darren can go.
Darren, go ahead.
Well, I think it's sort of like asking about NBA players from different generations. It's a recency bias, but I would have to say that the Endgame ending, or was it the Infinity War ending, was more memorable. Space Odyssey, it was kind of like the last one we talked about. It was more cerebral, Star Trek-ish, and Twilight Zone kind of thing. So yeah, I'd say Endgame, or again, Infinity War. To me, it's kind of like the same movie.
I'm gonna say Space Odyssey ending is fantastic. It was spoofed wonderfully in The Simpsons, but man, the snap. I mean,
That's the criteria.
There's something about the snap that is undeniable, especially because not only is it an amazing ending, but the impact of the snap, going forward, has been felt now religiously. Hassan, would you agree? Is there anything you need to add to this, or are we?
I would have to disagree, only because the impact of the ending of 2001 has been felt throughout cinematic history.
Oh, okay.
So if we're gonna look at it through that criteria, I think Infinity War is brilliant. But yeah, I'm gonna have to. I'm outvoted. I get it. I'm cool with it. But I would pick 2001.
Okay.
Just for the historic significance of it.
All right. So moving on with the 2-1 is Infinity War. Moving on. All right. Our next. Oh, and just to because we are live and I love it. Cameron Christopher Payne agreed with 7. If you guys are watching us on YouTube or on Facebook and want to chime in as well, let us know. Let us know, because we would love to get your input on what you think. It won't count, but it's nice to see what the fans think.
Wow.
Do we have a segue of like runner-ups or also rans, almost made it, that kind of thing, just to list a couple? Because I wasn't here when we picked the 16.
Yeah, but you clearly listen to us every week, so you would know exactly all those other things, and so would the audience. So that is that is as good a segue as I can muster.
I'm sure it was intelligently done. So
yeah, it's not bad. All right,
you do listen to us every week, right, Dad?
And sometimes on Sundays. All right.
I was working at the soup kitchen last week. And,
oh well, all right. Yeah, hey, look, got things that that's understandable. All right.
Well done.
This one's an interesting matchup. Old versus not as old. Back to the Future. We have to go to the future, literally, is the ending. Or Psycho, which again I think could have been a 1 seed. I know that for our younger viewers out there, Psycho doesn't seem as. I could just imagine like a Gen Z-er or a millennial. Well, millennials are kind of old, so I'm gonna go Gen Z-er, like watching Psycho and being
They're getting really annoyed of being considered children now.
Yeah.
I've been scolded by quite a few Gen Z-ers, so
yeah.
I mean, excuse me, millennials. So I'm not gonna do that anymore.
not children, just childish.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the thing is,
Darren said
I
that,
feel like
everyone.
they would be like, why is this guy trigger warning? This guy's being totally creepy. like, I feel like there's just the audience back then just wasn't as nuanced as because the culture today is so inundated with these movies now. I mean, to go back in time and to watch some of these original
All of these movies were inspired by stuff
Right.
like so.
Right.
So that's what they don't.
I think actually millennials will be like, the guy's a transvestite.
yeah
Okay, so what?
right that's right.
I don't. Where's the shock part of this ending?
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Someone said this was good. I don't understand.
It might actually offend people nowadays, right? be like, why is this movie
Either
offensive?
that or it what's worse than being offended is it makes no impact whatsoever.
Yeah.
People are like, yeah, so
Yeah, exactly. They'll
lock
be
'em
like,
up. Let's
I'd
move
murder
on."
that hoe too.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with Psycho to move ahead, and not to knock Back to the Future. It's a cliffhanger ending. It is a great ending, and it actually does speak to the title. So there is part of it.
Now, can I ask which
Yeah.
ending are we talking about? Because Back to the Future kind of had two endings. One where the car zooms away and flies.
Mm-hmm.
The other one where he makes it back to 1985 and he sees how everything's different because of what he did. Now, those are like two different endings, but they're both, you can consider both of them the end of the movie.
I think Mike means just before the credits roll kind of ending, like
Yeah.
that last gasp kind of ending. So I guess the DeLorean taking off and flying down the street
Okay.
would fit in that criteria. I suppose, right? Am I right?
You're right. I think you're
Okay.
right. I think it's a valid argument that Darren's making, and we did sort of address this last week, not necessarily for Back to the Future, but like what constitutes the ending, and we said it could be anything from, the last second, or it could go into like the end of the third act if the ending itself was dramatic enough. However, I'm going to lean with Hassan as well too and say it's more or less the cliffhanger aspect to the fact that it actually kind of upends the ending you just talked about because everything is not all well and good. He doesn't actually save the day. It's a red herring because then the true ending, or the in the sense of the finale of the movie,
Your kids,
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
right? So there is something to that. But I'm going to give my vote to Psycho. I think obviously that is just a classic ending. Darren,
can live with it.
you jumped in first. What's your?
Well, Hassan Art just voted, so it's not unanimous. I would vote Back to the Future because I remember, I'm old enough to remember leaving the theater talking about the ending, and excited about, the sequels. They have to have a sequel. What could possibly happen, and all that kind of stuff. Psycho, when I saw it, admittedly it was on TV because I wasn't alive when it came out in the movies, but it was even back in like 70s when I saw it on TV. It was kind of didn't scare me. I was a kid. It didn't scare me. Didn't bother me.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Back to the Future I think is better.
Hassan, what did you say? Did you say Psycho or did you go with Back to the Future?
I said I could live with Psycho. I agree with Darren to an extent. I think Back to the Future has a fantastic ending. I believe last week that was an addition of mine.
Yes.
Like I gave you.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm definitely for Back to the Future, but compared to Psycho, like if that Back to the Future was somewhere on its own, definitely. But compared to Psycho, I don't know, because I just remember that scaring the crap out of me at the end of Psycho. So even though Back to the Future was my movie, I sort of have to vote against it.
Wow. All right. Bold move, Cotton.
Just run a
Bold
black
move.
and white frame. I just want to say that one of the endings from Twilight Zone that frame reminded me of, the one in the diner where the guy has the 3 arms and then the other guy has the 3 eyes. You remember where he takes the hat off? To me, that was 10 times more impactful than the Psycho ending. That's like one of the most classic endings of any movie, show, story, whatever. And
You could say that about like almost every episode of The Twilight Zone, though.
well, that
It's a
particular-
cookbook.
Yeah, that was a great one too. But yeah, that
Next
we could do a
year,
whole
Twilight
show on
Zone
the
March
best
Movie
Twilight
Madness.
episode. There you go.
All right, moving on. We have Scream versus Raiders of the Lost Ark. Who wants to field this one first?
I'll go.
Yeah.
I think Raiders was more memorable, but the Raiders ending was kind of a downer because your impression was like after all that work, that's what they did with it, and rather than thinking about how wondrous that warehouse must be and what else is in there, you're just thinking he just went through all that, put him in a freaking box in the warehouse. So it was memorable. In fact, Foxwood Falcons was inspired by that ending, which was a comic I wrote for most of you guys who don't know that.
Shameless plug. Love it.
But I think Scream, to me, Scream is not on the same level. The ending to that was a surprise, but it just wasn't on the same level. It was just a plot twist to me, and that's not the same thing as a memorable, great ending. So that's my take.
Hassan?
Yeah, I sort of agree. I don't really think Raiders of the Lost Ark is a big twist ending. I know what your point is. I understood your point when you made it last week. But to me, it was like, it's kind of, I agree with Darren. It's kind of a letdown ending. I think in comparison to 3, I think it's I would have to say if you're going to say which ending is more memorable than the 3 ending is, the Scream ending is memorable because the two, spoiler, but the 2 bad guys killed themselves, essentially.
Yeah.
So, I think
First, the surprise was that there was 2 bad guys instead of
yeah.
Boom, never seen
they were
before.
dead.
Never been done.
Right.
No, that's not true. 2 bad guys never been done? That's not true. But we won't get into that debate.
Pre-1997?
Yes,
All right.
it's been done.
That'll be
But,
that'll be a different podcast.
Yeah, but we won't do that. And anyway, yes.
Being the Sundance Kid, they were 2 bad guys, and that also had a great ending, by the way.
Yes, it did, but that didn't make our list.
Maybe if you watched last week, you could have gotten it on here.
Oh, man.
Bonnie and Clyde.
We talked about Bonnie and Clyde. It was on a number of lists, but I got to admit, I just didn't see it. I've never seen it, so.
Well, I'm just bringing up movies with 2 bad guys.
Oh, that's
So,
true.
okay.
So you're going with Raiders then, Hassan?
No, nice try.
You're going with Scream.
I'm going with Scream. I don't think I really don't think Raiders is that. I think it's a fantastic film. I think the last act is great. But if we're talking about the last few minutes before the credits, that doesn't beat Scream.
Well, that leaves me, and it's fantastic that it does. So I'm going to move Raiders across. I got to tell you, I love Scream, though. I think Scream is a great movie. I think there is kind of that shock value ending to it. But Raiders, the face melts, and then they puts the thing in the box. It's great. Can't go
Honestly,
wrong.
for me, I think Friday the
Wait a
13th,
minute.
the first one, if we're going to put a horror movie in there, that it should be in there instead of Scream.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the ending where you realize that it was who was the killer in Friday the 13th. And then there was the very end where he pops up out of the water and that.
Yeah, that's classic.
That would have been useful to us last week.
But hold on, which one's moving forward?
I got Raiders. I put Raiders ahead.
Raiders.
How does Raiders move forward when 2 people voted against it?
No. I voted for it, and Darren voted for it.
Darren.
Yeah, because I think Scream's not even the best horror movie ending.
He
So,
just he literally just see Hassan doesn't really listen. He just thinks he just hears what he wants to hear.
I don't listen when you talk.
Oh, that's
Definitely.
good.
I thought
Valid
I
point.
thought I was paying attention
And
when
don't
Darren
make me
talked.
come over there and knock your pillow fort down. All right?
Valid.
It's just more fun to build it back again, Darren.
All right, moving along. Shawshank Redemption, Planet of the Apes. Now, Shawshank does have Morgan Freeman piling through a whole bunch of poop. But Planet of the Apes has probably one of the most spoofed endings because it was so classic in the sense that it was our planet. We destroyed our planet. I'll field the first one.
These are.
I like Planet. I like Planet of the Apes better. I don't even think I have to go into detail. I think it's the costumes are kind of campy now, looking back on them, but the ending still resonates even to today. Planet of the Apes.
Okay.
So that's my vote to push ahead.
I think these are rigged.
I said it's a 1 seed.
Tournaments generally are. When you put a 1 seed, you put them against the weakest.
How is any movie going to live up to the ending of Planet of the Apes? How is any film?
Oh,
How
I got
is
at
any
least
revelation?
2 more in this tournament that I would put ahead.
I don't think so. I think that's one of the greatest revelations in movie history.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Now Shawshank is a fantastic ending, but it's a completely out of category. It's categorically non-equivocal to Planet of the Apes.
It's not as earth-shattering. I think
No.
it's a feel-good ending. The one you have pictured where he walks up on the beach and meets him. To me, that's a feel-good, just kind of nice ending. The real good part, the good ending in Shawshank was when he lifts that poster up and sees that hole in the wall.
Yeah.
That's the.
But that's a last act ending. That's the beginning of Act 3 kind of ending, where it doesn't fit this criteria. I would have to say Planet of the Apes just because of the parameters of the contest. Because I don't know. I don't think anything really beats Planet of the Apes ending, but I could be wrong.
All right. Well, we don't have to spend too long on it. We can just move it along. It's got 2 votes already. We've got me choking, but that's okay.
Well, don't do that.
Good old cold that I'm battling, but that's okay. We got 3 other matchups. So what we'll do is try to speed this along just a little bit so that we can get into all of this stuff, and we'll push another 1 seed, I think, onto the board, which is Thing versus Usual Suspects. Usual Suspects being the 1 seed here.
Yeah. I'll go Usual Suspects because, again, I think the Thing was not as memorable. Most people, I'm not even sure which ending you're referring to in the Thing. So that's I mean, the fact that he laid there and froze to death, or the fact that something got away. That's, I'm not sure what you're referring to. So I'd have to say the most memorable one is when Kevin Spacey is limping along the sidewalk and starts walking like a normal person. And then everything that you watched before, the context of it changes. And you start to put it all together and realize what you just watched. And to me, that changing everything you saw before with 1 scene, that really that's much better. So yeah, that's my take.
Nassan, do we have anybody challenging this discussion?
Look, The Thing is my favorite movie, my favorite horror movie of all time, and I think that's a fantastic ending. But per the parameters of the contest, I don't think it beats. I don't think it beats The Usual Suspects.
I don't think so either. All right, we're moving it along, and now we will take on the final 2 of this, and I just have to find it. Is essentially what happens next, but I know I can, which is going to be Sixth Sense versus Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Now, I would sit there and tell you
Which one?
The Donald Sutherland one, that one where he's like, meh. Cool, shocking ending. However, not as shocking to me as Sixth Sense. It takes a lot to put one over on me sometimes, because I'm usually, when a movie can put me behind the 8 ball and hide the reveal to me and then make it at the same time one of those, my goodness, how did I not realize this kind of thing throughout? That's what Sixth Sense does. So I'm going to go Sixth Sense. I don't think there's any question about it.
I agree. In the interest of speeding this up, yes, I agree.
Hassan, any meaningful...
I disagree, but I'm already outvoted, so it doesn't matter.
Okay. Well, that's you can chime in if you want to give.
Well, you're trying to move things along. I disagree. I don't know.
I remember not liking Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I didn't even like that movie as a kid, and the ending I didn't care. So.
Well, there you have it.
Yeah.
I figured out the Sixth Sense like about 30 minutes in that movie, so the impact wasn't that big for me.
We all know.
I just noticed Bruce Willis was not talking to the mother at all, ever. So
interesting.
I'm like,
look at you.
I bet he's dead.
Wow.
So
I knew about 29 minutes in, personally.
29 minutes in, yeah. You were 1 minute ahead of me. All right, okay, fair enough.
Then I said, Hassan, I think he's a ghost. And he said, you're right.
That's
still 30 minutes. My story still stands.
You're not a liar. You're just not as impressive. That's the
yeah.
That's what it comes down to.
But that's pretty much the story of my life. So it doesn't matter.
All right. Finally, here we've discussed Jaws. Now we pit it against Inception. Now Inception has an ending with the top spinning, which has led a lot of folks to question their own sanity, A, and then B, question whether or not the movie was a dream, or if he was still stuck in the dream, or if he was out, or what is. It's almost been debated as much as, like, say, the Sopranos ending, I think, to where people have their theories, but there's no definitive answer to it. But to me, in terms of memorable endings, that's a 1 seed to me. I think it defeats Jaws. I like Jaws a lot. I do love the Jaws ending. I do love Jaws in general. But it's a comeuppance ending. It's a bad guy getting it. It's satisfying, but I wouldn't necessarily.
Jaws is not known for its ending.
Exactly, I agree.
It's a great film.
Yeah.
But the ending it works, but it's not like a plot twist. Like, holy shit, it wasn't a shark, it was an alien. Who knew?
Yeah.
So, but it was it's pretty straightforward. So I agree. I think Inception was a better ending, but Inception was, to me, a very unsatisfying ending, and almost like I don't know, the director is just kind of didn't know where to go, and he just decided to leave it for the audience to figure out. Like he's just being cute, and so I don't consider it a great ending, but it's a good ending. So yeah, I'll go with Inception.
All right, Hassan.
Yeah, I guess if you're gonna compare it to Jaws, it's a more memorable ending that fits the criteria of this contest.
Mm-hmm.
But it is. I agree with Darren. It's one of those like really, overtly, intentionally cerebral endings that after you just spent 2.5 hours in a cinema, you're like, all right, so I guess it's up to me how it all turned out. So I don't think too highly of it, but I think it's definitely a more memorable ending than a shark blowing up.
I could tell you that Hassan and I have argued more about whether or not Mace Windu is alive than whether or not Inception was a dream or not. So.
And what's funny is we both agree he's alive.
Oh yeah, well, because Samuel Jackson's still alive. Of course he's alive.
Yeah, so we didn't even really argue, and we still argued more about that than Inception.
All right, so this is our elite 8, right? We got 8 to go. Oh my goodness, and it's 8:48. Oh my goodness. All right, how are we gonna do this? We're gonna just keep going. We're gonna barrel through this, but first we're gonna take a little break because we get our bearings straight. Take a look at the Elite 8. When we come back, we will narrow this down and hopefully crown a winner, or we can stop at 4 and come back next week. I don't know. We'll figure it out as we go along.
Yeah, because that's what streaming does now.
It's a good
Come back
idea.
next week.
We will be right back. Welcome back to the Rogue Wave podcast. All right, we are doing our brackets. Brackets are exciting. We have guest Darren Sanchez here as well, too, and he is helping us with our brackets. And so we are jumping right into the Elite 8, which is 7 versus Inception. So we just got through talking about Inception not being necessarily the most memorable film, I guess, when all is said and done. Or the most memorable ending. It had one of the most talked about endings, but not necessarily the most memorable.
Yeah.
So
Well, I think generally you have to know what the hell's going on in the movie to remember it. And most of the time during that movie, I had no idea what the hell was going on. So yeah.
So I'm gonna assume from both Darren and Hassan, 7 is gonna move ahead.
Yes.
Is that a fair?
Yes.
Is that a fair
Yes.
enough? I'm also gonna agree. I think 7's ending is amazing. So without further ado, we're just gonna move. Yeah, we're gonna just move it ahead because why not? Right? It's a great film. All right, this one's gonna be fun now because in our bracket, well, this one's probably gonna end up the same way. I have a feeling. So hopefully I'm wrong, but I don't think I'm wrong. I think this is gonna end up kind of the same way. We got Planet of the Apes taking on Raiders of the Lost Ark.
That's an easy one. You can go ahead and move Charlton Heston and
Yes, please.
Cornelius and all those guys. Move them up.
Did I not seed these brackets very well? I must have not seeded them the way they were supposed to, because then we were having these like matchups and they're like, no, that's a no-brainer. All right. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with no-brainer endings. All right, so we're gonna go into the Elite 8. We're gonna keep moving along because we got lives and wives and things to do.
Other things that rhyme.
And other
Yes.
that was as best as I
So-
could come up with.
So I'm told. We have lives, so I'm told.
No, but okay.
All right, we've got Sixth Sense, Infinity War, squaring up in this side here. Hassan, you want to lead this one off?
Ooh, I don't know. That's well, you know how I feel about the Sixth Sense ending. All right, I'll go Infinity War.
Oh, how come?
I think it's more of. I mean, it's more of a sensationalized ending, less cerebral, more like, more slap in the face of the audience kind of ending. Also, it's a unique ending where the heroes lose.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
In a major franchise movie. So, I guess because although arguably finding out Bruce Willis is dead is arguably the hero losing also, but I'll still go with Infinity War.
All right, that's fair enough. I'm going to go with Sixth Sense on this. I love Infinity War. It's probably my favorite Marvel movie. It's the scope of it is amazing. The ending is amazing. But again, I think Sixth Sense, because there is closure to it and it's not a cliffhanger. I think in the cases of like Inception and Infinity War and anywhere where there's a Back to the Future, we kind of talked about it. Anywhere there's a cliffhanger, it naturally gives it a more memorable ending just because it's a cliffhanger. So I almost vote against it because of that. Whereas Sixth Sense was a definitive, like, this is an ending. And again, to me, I did not figure it out 28 minutes into the film. It went the whole way, and it was huge. I don't know, it was a huge drop off to me. So I'm gonna go Sixth Sense. For me. Now Steve Ovecki just chimed in. He also said Sixth Sense. So that's good.
I would disagree with Steve Ovecki. No, I'm kidding. I would never disagree with Steve Ovecki. I actually was going to say Sixth Sense also, and the reason that I would say is that it changed, again, sort of like Usual Suspects. It changed the whole context of what you had just seen, and it made you have to rethink and figure out how you didn't see it before. How did you miss that? It's almost like a magic trick. So yeah, I think Sixth Sense more impactful. Although this is like an 8-9 matchup. This is a really, really good tight matchup because the Marvel movie ends. It's not just one death. It's, oh my God, he's dying. Oh my God, he's dying too. Oh, she's, that kind of thing. It just kept like, it was like an avalanche of moments, and so I think the one big moment to me outshined it. So Sixth Sense.
I think also, when we look at in the context of movie endings too, though, because it's a Marvel movie, and because we all know comic books, and we know how they work, it was shocking to see all these people die, but you knew they were all coming back. Like there wasn't, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't a part of me being like, well, like my dad literally walked out of the theater. He's like, I can't believe they killed Spider-Man. I'm like, Dad, he's making billions of dollars. There's good. Spider-Man's coming back. Like, comics, don't worry.
Death is not the end.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right.
There was a little less of an impact for that. All right. So this is our updated bracket. Sixth Sense moves on. We've got Sixth Sense, Planet of the Apes 7. And now we have a really intriguing final matchup. Hassan, I'm going to lead off with you. Psycho or Usual Suspects?
Usual Suspects.
They're both psychos, but
yeah. One more in real life than the other, I guess, right?
Psycho has a more historical, significant ending, but the Usual Suspects is much more of a visceral ending, much more to the point, with exactly what the twist and the circumstance of the film is. So I would go for Usual Suspects.
I'm going to make it unanimous as well, and we have Cameron Christopher Payne and Steve Ovecki both chiming in and agreeing with this statement as well too. I don't, again, I agree with you to the significance of Psycho, but I mean, look, Usual Suspects is on the Mount Rushmore of endings.
I disagree, but okay.
Really? What would be your final four if this was not?
We'll do that in another show. We don't have time for that, but yeah. But look, I did vote for Usual Suspects.
That's true. It's a good point.
That's
a good point.
But I disagree with the Mount Rushmore thing.
Interesting. Okay. All right. I like it. Well, we've got ourselves a Mount Rushmore. We've got a Final Four. This is a good Final Four, actually. I'm sometimes we'll do these brackets and like some dark horse will just kind of sneak in and you're like, they're not as good as that, or this is not as
St. Peter's,
Yeah. There's always like one
basketball joke or something.
One.
Yeah. I was wondering why I was in the dark. But okay.
There was one film. This is exciting because I think not only do we have a great Final Four, but we have a chance to have two Kevin Spacey movies battle each other out at the end. There's definitely potential for that. All right, let's focus in on a Final Four here. Let's go. Darren, which side would you want to start first? Sixth Sense, Usual Suspects, or Seven and Planet of the Apes?
Let's start on the left.
All right, we will do Sixth Sense taking on the Usual Suspects. Now, because we did such a good job with the Elite Eight, if there are things we have not mentioned yet about these films, absolutely chime in. We're not in any rush. We did a great job getting through. And so, yeah, absolutely. Give us your take as to which one of these is moving on.
All right, I'll say that this is a good apples to apples matchup because both of them have the context changing twist at the end, where you learn something that could have been apparent earlier, and it changes the way the whole movie plays out. But I kind of like the supernatural element of Sixth Sense more than the crime noir element. So it's more of a genre preference for me. And I just thought the movie, The Sixth Sense, it was actually something you thought about a lot, and people talked about a lot after you left that movie. I don't remember as much conversation or as much buzz about Usual Suspects. I remember talking about it with some people, but
do you know why though? Do you know why that is? Because
same way.
Usual Suspects, I feel like, wasn't as big in the theater as Sixth Sense was. Usual Suspects was one of those movies that became more, I don't want to say more of a cult hit, but really was a movie that I didn't end up seeing in the theaters. It was
Right.
one that was like, oh, you got to see this movie. It was almost like this cool movie that no one kind of saw, and then everybody saw.
Okay. Yeah, to me, it more memorable, Sixth Sense.
Hassan, what do you think?
I'm gonna go with Sixth Sense only because
Oh, shocker!
My friend Jeffrey Neary actually ruined The Usual Suspects for me, so I have no idea whether
30
that movie
minutes
would have
in,
had it.
He knew it was.
So wait, you figured out the ending of Sixth Sense 30 minutes into the movie, and
Yeah.
someone ruined the ending for Usual Suspects. for
Yeah.
you.
So
All right, I
so
would
I
have
have no idea whether that would have ever worked or not. I'm sure it would have. I'm sure it's a well done, fantastic movie, but I have to
Wow.
go with Sixth Sense.
He also knew all along that it was a cookbook.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, when you've been around as long as I have, you'd figure these things out.
Is that something you want to brag about?
I don't know. I'm
You're
just
like,
playing
"All right,
along, man. I'm just
letting you know I am positively ancient. I was around when movies was first invented.
True, though.
All right. Well, you know what? I would have put Usual Suspects ahead, but I'm outvoted, so we're gonna go with Sixth Sense. Moving on, and look at this fancy bracket.
What does Savecki say about that one?
He had
He's-
Usual
he's-
Suspects.
He's disagreed with everything I've said since he's logged on.
Yeah, yeah. So he's there, but I just want to take a moment and reflect on how awesome this bracket looks. I did a wonderful job. I'm gonna just really pat myself on the back. It's good. It really looks like a true bracket, and I'm doing it live, so I'm giving myself double hands on my back. It hurts that much to pat myself on the back. All right, final matchup that we've got here. Planet of the Apes versus Seven. Now, I know everyone has lauded Planet of the Apes ending. However, I'm going to go recency bias for myself on this one. I'm going to go Seven over Planet of the Apes, mainly because we don't have a Kevin Spacey movie in the finals, which we should. But no, mainly because I don't know. I think overall, Seven comes up more when I reference a movie or I reference a movie ending. It seems to have resonated and stuck with me longer than Planet of the Apes, and that's it. That's my only reason. I can't give any other reason. I can't be upset if Planet of the Apes goes ahead of it, but I'm gonna go with what's in the box. The box. I actually used that joke with my my wife too. There was like a box there, and I said, "What's in the box?" And she was dying laughing hysterically. So I'm gonna give props to Seven. All right, who wants to challenge Seven? Moving on to the finals.
Seven versus Planet of the Apes.
That's right.
Is that what we're talking about?
Yes.
Do you want to go, Darren, or do you want me to go?
I'll say not even close. Planet of the Apes.
Okay.
I 100% agree with Darren.
I didn't think I was going to have a shot at this one. Now, in years past, we've done stuff like upset or wild card or whatever the case might be. There but we're not doing that this year. We're just gonna. This is why we got 3 people on the show right now, so that we can all. We have an odd number of people, in which case we can just move things along. All right, Planet of the Apes.
Odd people.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, yeah. No, that's every week of my life here. Planet of the Apes. Moving on in our bracket, it's pretty exciting. I actually, I think, even with this, I think we've actually developed a pretty solid final matchup. So our final matchup now consists of Sixth Sense taking on Planet of the Apes. This is where I think it's kind of funny because in this particular matchup versus what we just saw, if this was rearranged, I'd have different outcome for what ends up in the finals here. But I'll save mine for last if we need a tiebreaker, since I went first on the last one. We'll give it to our guest, Hassan, or do you want to lead off?
We can give it to our guest.
Okay, Darren, lead us off with this very tiny.
I have to say, I love both of these movies. I love both of these endings. I saw them both in the theater. And as a kid, I watched with my uncles Planet of the Apes, and they were blown away. Okay, it's cliche now, but they were blown away. I think people have to realize how impactful that ending was at the time. Sixth Sense. These are both like the definitive, the definition of twist endings. Right here, both of these movies.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd have to go with Planet of the Apes. I think it's close, but Planet of the Apes. That's my take.
Hassan, do you want to bring us home?
I agree that it's very close. As I've said before, I think Planet of the Apes is unsurpassed as the shock ending. Especially in the criteria of the game that we're playing, where it's in literally the last 5 seconds of the film before they hit the end on it, and you're just kind of left sitting there, with that realization. I don't think you can top that, And I do appreciate Sixth Sense. I do think that's a brilliant movie, but I got to go with Planet of the Apes.
I think Rocky might have been a better matchup because that was a great ending, but it was. I'm just kidding because we. Yeah, Mike, it's on you.
Well, it really isn't because we've determined that it is going to be Planet of the Apes is now going to be our winner of the tournament. There is Planet of the Apes.
Look at that imagery, though. How do you beat that image as a final image of a science fiction film? And all this horrendousness that happens to this guy, and all he wants to do is go home, and then he realizes he's already home. Like, that's it's classic, but it is probably the best that classic twist is done in cinema, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I think what I was going to say was I didn't think Sixth Sense could defeat Planet of the Apes. Now, if you put Usual Suspects up against it, I would have actually voted for Usual Suspects over that. I voted for 7 over Planet of the Apes. So to me, the weakest of the 4 endings made it into the finals. So for me, I didn't think it had a chance anyway. And yeah, Planet of the Apes will go on to be our official winner of this year's brackets. And I don't think anybody can be upset with it necessarily. There are films that you could say maybe deserve to be, a different ranking or a different whatever, but I think ultimately when you come away with Planet of the Apes being the winner, we all win when all is said and done. So, all right, that is our bracket. That is our March Madness bracket of the year. I had a lot of fun. Darren, thank you for joining us. We'll have to get Steve Hovecki on for next year.
He was technically the fourth contestant, right?
Well,
there.
no, and Cameron Christopher Payne as well.
Yeah,
he was on as well, chiming in as which ironically, if Steve had just gotten up sooner, we could have counted them both because then they would have been considered, an odd number of people. See, so shame on them. Shame on them for not getting here sooner.
Really? Don't shame the audience.
this has been our show tonight. How's that for a twist ending? Hmm?
Yeah.
Oh, you see what I did there?
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did.
Yeah, that's
You
it.
blew it up.
That's it. I did it. Thank you guys for joining us. Next week, we will go more in-depth Moon Knight episodes 1 and 2. We will give a spoiler-free for episode 2, but we'll go more in-depth on Moon Knight next week. Plus, we got more stuff coming down the pipeline. Go check out roguematter.com. Website just relaunched. It's going to be really super exciting. We have a mobile app. We're just waiting for word from Apple. It's past review, so it should be in the App Store any day now. So we got things to celebrate next week. We will see you guys next week. Rogue Wave. Hi guys, Mike Dolce here from the Rogue Wave podcast. If you like this video, please feel free to like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. It really helps us out. Leave a comment, let us know what you'd like to see in future episodes, and tune in every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, for a brand new episode of the Rogue Wave podcast.